these Saturday calls. If you don't have it in your calendar, please do, because these calls will actually advance you in your business every Saturday. So these Saturday calls are going to be every day at 11 o'clock. And pretty much I'm actually excited to be in business with everybody today. And we're actually going to start this call off with a couple people on the list. Unfortunately, we can't actually have everybody talk because it's so many people that's actually hopping on, actually getting their first sale or getting hired. And I'm actually going to start the list off by saying the first sales. So these people actually just came in, either were licensed, not licensed, and they actually got their first sale. So if everybody can put a clap in the chat or anything like that, every time I put somebody's name. And we're actually going to start this list off with Gail B, and she actually got her first sale. Congratulations on your first, not your last, but your first sale. Then the second person is going to be Keith T. Congratulations, Keith, actually getting your first sale. And we got another one at Jamal N. He actually got his first sale today too. Well, not today, sorry. And we also got Hawaii, not Hawaii. One more time.
Howie in Hawaii with a
Howie,
spell check.
Howie, Howie. We're gonna be going to Hawaii, Howie. I know you got that a lot. Sorry for that. And then that's actually the only four right now that got their first sale. I'm actually excited for you guys. You know, like when I actually got into the business, my first sale, I was actually really, really excited. But the thing now is just to turn up even more, pick it up even more, and change some families. So now we actually got two people on this list for their first hire. Tiffany B, congratulations on building a team so far. You actually got your first hire to not today, but throughout this week. And we're definitely excited for you building your own hierarchy and everything like that. Just keep it up. And we got another person that got their first hire, Osmond. Congratulations, Osmond, on actually building your team. You actually got two people in the team last week. And that's pretty much the list on the people that got their first sale, their first hire. And then we're actually going to jump straight into it with convention. So whoever's new on this call that doesn't know anything about convention, it's going to be February 4th through the 6th. So if anybody doesn't have their flight or anybody doesn't have their room, please talk to your upline, get signed up. Um, oh, sorry. Let me actually go back real quick because I actually forgot Mike S. and he actually passed his exam today. Sorry about that, guys. But Mike actually passed his test this week. Congratulations on that, man. We can't wait to see you on the leaderboard, getting contracted and everything like that. And hopefully next week we'll actually be putting you up here for your first sale. And let me jump back into convention. So what I was saying for convention, for people that don't know about it, we'll have the list. Just go to your upline or whoever brought you into the business. And this event is going to be crazy. We're actually getting training from people that have teams, hierarchies that actually do over $1 million of business every month. So I'm truly excited. And for anybody that doesn't have their flight or room or anything like that, please reach out. Don't miss this opportunity because you feel like you don't have enough money to go get it, or you might not have enough time, because these conventions put you 6 months in advance on your business because of the people that you're around. And I am truly excited to actually say that the new guest speaker is actually going to be one of my favorite Raven players. So hopefully nobody on this team Steelers fans or anything like that, because we're actually going to have Ray Lewis talking at the convention in Orlando. And the biggest thing for convention, because if you guys don't know me, I'm actually new to Family First Life. I came here in July. And to give you an idea, before I went to a convention, I was making around $1,200 a month. My first convention actually pushed me up. Um, I actually got licensed July 20th, did around 3 grand. And the biggest thing when I went to my first event in Virginia with Kylie, Corinne, and everything like that, I learned so many tools that they actually taught me of what things that they set into the house, or how they sold, or how they built rapport, or how they pretty much found out the solution for a problem. And with that being said, me going to one event put my income from $3,000 to $8,000 a month. So if you guys are really, really big on, I know whoever I'm around, that's who I'm going to be. It's more than that. It's the people that you're around, it's the meetings that you attend, and the books that you're reading. So that's three big things that you guys got to do with this event. This event's going to change a lot of lives, and I'm actually excited for the people that already have it signed up, um, and everything like that. So I'm actually going to be talking about the first person that's going to be doing a training today. Um, is Mike on here, Kylie?
Yeah, he's on.
Okay, so pretty much to edify my man Mike Fowl. I'm truly like inspired by what Mike does, on how he's like a true server for his team, and to give you guys an idea of how like urgent we should be to be pushing up this team and actually pushing up your own team and everything like that. Mike's been here for less than a year and a half. Well, not less than a year and a half, but he's been here for about a year and a half, and his team's doing around 500,000 a month, not a year, a month. So if you guys don't have your pen and pad like to take notes, I would truly get that right now. I'll give you guys about like 2 minutes to actually get your pens and your papers, because Mike is actually going to be getting on the call today, and pretty much talking about the in-home presentation. So for everybody that's new, this is going to be a great training for a lot of questions that you have about what do I say in the house, what do we do in the house, and everything like that. So I actually switched the call over to Mike, and thank you, Mike, for this training that you're about to do.
Hey, I appreciate it, Jamar. It's an honor to be able to be on this call with you guys. I'm gonna try to pull over somewhere because I'm running business today. I keep hitting some dead spots. I'm down here in Baltimore right now running business, so I'm gonna pull over. That way I don't go in and out. Let me see. Jamar, I'm excited watching what you're doing, man. You've been doing some amazing things, so it's just exciting being able to work with you.
I'm just being coachable, man, and just trying to pick you guys' brain as much as I can.
Yeah,
That's all I really can do.
watching what you've been doing, each and every day has truly been, it's definitely exciting. I love working with you. I love getting your calls every day.
I think Mike is breaking out.
You went in the water tunnel, Mike.
Mike, can you hear us? I'm about to text him.
Am I breaking up?
There you go.
Hold on, I'm gonna pull over. Let me pull in this parking lot. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna pull over. How about right now? Am I a good spot?
Yeah, keep talking. Lost you again. Mike, call in. Let me see if I can find
Hold on. Hold on. I was in a spot. Hold on. I was in this parking lot earlier on the phone, and it was good. So let me get over here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right now, am I good?
You're good.
I am good. All right. I'm stopping right here. So now we don't have any problems. Perfect. So I appreciate you having me on today. Like I was saying before I was breaking up, I've been in the business for the past 5.5 years now, and I promise everyone I was probably the worst agent that could have ever been hired by the company. I literally went through every single pitfall. And when people call me,
Mike, you breaking up again.
going 2 days every single appointment.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Mike,
Yeah. Can you hear me?
you're breaking up again.
Damn, I'm not even yet.
Nope. I'm gonna send you the phone number to call, Mike.
Yeah, give me a number. I'll call in.
All right, I'm gonna text it to you.
All right.
Corinne, can you fill in real quick?
Sure can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So you just want me to jump into my spot?
Just do something to fill the time real quickly.
Okay. So do you want me to talk about what I was going to talk about, and we just bring Mike on the back end?
Talk about the convention really quick.
Oh yeah, okay, I can do that. So guys, just as Jamar said, why it's important to go to convention. Again, I always talk about this because I just think it's so awesome how we have perfect examples of people who have gone to convention. I know this will be my first one, Jamar's first one, a lot of people on this call. But if you're really serious about building an agency, or at least changing your life and your financial future, you want to be there. And like I said, we have perfect examples. I mean, if you look at Thad, Ryan, Mike, Kali, the list goes on. Just by going to that simple convention, I always use Thad and Ryan as an example, but these guys were partners, in the police force, making 40 to 50 grand a year, and sometimes not even after taxes. But they knew that they put their life on the line every day for a job that really didn't pay them for that. And so going to convention and making that huge decision, because again, big decisions are made at big events. That's where your mind and your business gets expanded. They came back, went full time, took a risk. Okay. And I mean, and keep in mind, these guys are not by themselves. They have family, they have kids. They took a risk. And because of the risk that they took and putting work alongside of it and grinding it out, these guys are averaging 40 to 50 grand a month in income. And so that is the beauty of going to a convention and getting what you need so that you can change you and your family's life. And it may not be right away. Everybody is different. But what I do know is that the people who go and make the decision and come back and actually work, these are the guys that are changing their lives here. So that's why it's important to go, guys. You want to make sure you are there. If you have not made your plans already as far as where you're staying, your room, what you're going to do, you need to make that now. And please get with your manager and your upline so that they are aware, so that when we get down there, there is no question mark as to where you're staying and what you're doing. Everything has been handled before we all get down to Orlando, Florida. So again, that is important on why you want to go. You'll be 6 months ahead of anybody else. And what I do know is that for those who don't go, most likely you're not going to be here long. So with that being said, you want to make sure you make that decision. Mike, are you back on? Did you get the call in? Oh, yes. And Kali did just, if you don't know how to register, please, I do want to make this important announcement as well. There's less than 200 spots left in Orlando. And I don't know if that's changed since the last time I've looked at it. But while you're making a decision on whether you want to go or not, please register now so that you can make sure that when you do go, you have a spot and a slot. And Kali in the chat actually put the link down in Boomset for you guys to go ahead and register on how to do that. All right, Mike, do we have you on?
Mike is back. Yes, he is.
Perfect. Take it away, Mike.
All right, you can hear me now, right?
Much better. Let's go, Michael Fowl.
My goodness, man, you got all these buttons you have to press just to get into this daggone thing. This is crazy. All right, well, we're good now. So today I'm out running business. Like I was saying, when I got into this business, the amount of struggles and stuff that I went through was unbelievable. I specifically remember running for 2 days straight, had 14 appointments and was no-showed on all those appointments. And every single day for like the first probably a year and a half, 2 years, every single day I wanted to quit. And it was difficult, but I just stuck with it and continued going. And every day you get better and better. So each day when I get calls from people and they go, Mike, I got no-showed on my appointments today, and they let me know that they had, 4 appointments for the day, that's like almost to be expected. On a daily basis, when I run 9 or 10 appointments, I sit with 4 or 5 people. So when people get no-showed on 3 or 4 appointments, what it comes down to is really just not having enough appointments. The biggest thing that I could teach anyone on in-home presentations, and I think as new people, we all go through it and we all do the same thing. And really, it's just when you get into that appointment and you don't ask enough questions. And I know when you're new, that's kind of difficult. And that's why we say, if you want to get good, the first thing you need to do is get through your first 100 appointments, because the more appointments that you go on, the better you're going to get, the more scenarios you're going to get in front of, and the more that you're going to learn by seeing more people. So the biggest thing that I did when I was brand new, I didn't know what questions to ask. So immediately what I would do as a new agent is I would walk right into the home and I would just start, quoting prices, because I didn't know what to do. And I promise you, by pulling out and using the financial inventory sheet, that'll be the beginning of you getting good, because at that point you'll start knowing the questions to ask. And the important questions that we do ask, like when I walk into a home, obviously I want to know the people's name, and I start addressing them by name. I want to know their age. I want to know if they're retired, and if they're not retired, I ask them when they're going to be retired. If it's a husband and wife, I'm asking both of them. I don't say, what is your income? I think when you ask someone a question like that, sometimes that becomes a little bit intrusive. But I always look at the wife and I say, Mary, if John died tomorrow, or if John didn't come home last night, how much income would you lose? How much money would you lose on a monthly basis? That's a different way of, instead of asking, how much do you make? When you ask a question like that, that's more of like an emotional type way of asking that question. So I look at the wife and I say, if John didn't come home tonight, how much income would you lose on a monthly basis? And I write that number down, and I know that's his monthly income. And then I look at the husband and I say, Mary, or I look at the husband, I say, John, if Mary didn't come home tonight, how much money would you lose on a monthly basis? I write that number down. Let's make it easy numbers so I can do easy math. Let's say the husband's making $7,000 a month. The wife is making $3,000 a month. I know that there's definitely more of a financial hardship if he dies than if she dies. So I'm also asking them a simple question. I actually do this up front really before I continue. I say, so what was your concern, or what was the reason that you sent in this form? I want them to tell me, and I want to get an understanding of that, and I want to hear from them, because sometimes you'll walk into an appointment. I don't know how many of you guys do this, but people will say crazy things. Like they'll say, I thought this was Medicare, or I thought this was free, or I thought this was a refinance on my mortgage, or I thought this was for solar panels on top of my roof. A lot of agents, they'll call and they want to know the how to overcome those crazy kind of objections. And for me, I don't overcome those crazy objections. To me, if you're not going to give me a valid reason of why I'm here, then really there's no need for me to proceed. You see, you get real exhausted at the end of the day when you're wrestling around with people all day long, trying to overcome objections for people that were never going to buy. I always let people know, like, if they're not serious and they're not really telling me why I'm there in the very beginning, then really the appointment is over and there's no reason for me to be there. That really starts to make your job very easy. And it also doesn't beat up on your confidence, because quite honestly, if you had 10 appointments for the day, and let's say you sat down with 5 people, but really you did 0 presentations. And to me, a presentation is to the point when I show people a price. But if you did 0 presentations, at the end of the day, you really can't say you had a bad day, because you really never tried to show someone the price. There was never an attempt to make a sale, because none of them were sellable. And when you treat it like that, at the end of the day, everything is really completely different. So the way I always look at it, I try to figure out how many presentations did I make and how many sales did I make. It's not necessarily how many people did you sit with, because you could have sat with 5 people and none of them were a buyer. So I always look at it that way. So if once I get that valid reason as to why I'm there, they know why I'm there, they tell me that the concern was if let's call it on a final expense, they want to make sure that they're not leaving a burden to their loved ones, or if it was a mortgage protection, they want to make sure that the home was covered. At that point, that's when I then start my appointment. So then I'm asking them those questions. John, if Mary dies, how much would you lose on a monthly basis? Mary, if John dies, how much do you lose on a monthly basis? And I write those numbers down. My next question is, let's do a mortgage protection. Let's make it simple. I say, okay, Mary, if John were to die, is the concern here, we want to make sure that he's not leaving you or any family members stuck with a financial burden. I get them to say, okay, because again, I give them a reason out. If the man is crazy and he says something like, I don't care if I die and I leave her with all the bills. See, that's crazy talk, and I don't entertain that again. I just look at him and go, you really don't care about her? You don't care about the rest of your family? Some people are crazy, and at that point, the appointment is over again. But if I get them to buy in and they say, that is exactly what my concern is, then I continue on with the appointment. So once I get that past that part, then I ask simple questions like, all right, what medications do you take? I'm asking that question because in my mind, when I'm figuring out medication-wise, in my mind, I'm figuring out who they qualify for. The home that I just walked out of right now, the woman tells me that she's on warfarin. I know that warfarin is a blood thinner, so I ask her, you know, when did you have the stroke? When did you have the heart attack? She then says, I did have a stroke, and, you know, I say, well, how long ago was it? It was 18 months ago. See, I'm asking those questions, and really, it's just a simple conversation. It doesn't seem like I'm questioning to sell them insurance. So in my mind, I know that, well, we had a stroke 18 months ago. I know that I can go Eagle. So in my mind, I'm asking questions and I'm getting buy-in the whole way. So I ask another question to her. I say, so I understand that you already have this Globe Life policy. You already acknowledge that the payment's going to go up 5 years. I ask another question to see why we're even looking at this. I go, you know that goes up every 5 years. So is the reason why you sent this in, are you interested in looking at something that's more permanent? She says, yes. I say, okay, so you're going to keep that Globe Life because it's so cheap, but you want a whole life policy because you know that when that goes up so high, you're going to end up canceling the policy. She says, that's exactly why I sent this in, because I realized that. So the whole time through the appointment, it's continuing to ask a lot of questions, and I'm getting buy-in the whole time from the client. It's not just walking in and showing prices. So then at the very end, when I show her prices, I ask her, I say, which one of these fit your budget? She then looks and she told me in this appointment, she said, I need to think about this. I need to talk to my fiance. And I say, well, what I asked you was, I asked you to pick the price that you could make a decision on today, the no-brainer decision. You know, I don't want you to pick the price that's going to affect your budget, the one that you're going to need to talk to your fiance about. I asked you for the one that if you got a flat tire in your car tomorrow, the one that you could afford. She then goes, oh, okay, I understand. Then she picks the lower price. She goes all the way down to $10,000, and that's fine. So most of the time, when people, you know, give you, and I want to think about it, what I learned a long time ago is that everything comes down to price. The reason she initially told me she wanted to think about it is because she wasn't comfortable with the price of the insurance. When people tell me I want to think about it, I go 3 times. The first time a person tells me I want to think about it, I always say, well, what I asked you to do was pick the no-brainer the price you didn't have to think about. If you have to think about it, it's because you're looking at a price that is too high. a lot of times just doing that, the client will then pick the price. If they tell me one more time, I understand that, but I need to think about it. At that point, I'll go in one more time and I'll say, well, all we're going to do today is get you covered. The insurance company will allow us to take the check, the payment out on a date that you're comfortable with. You don't need to pay anything today. A lot of times that will resolve the second I want to think about it. You know, they understand that they can pick a price that they can afford, but when they tell you that second time, I still need to think about it, it's simply because they don't have the money in their account today. And a lot of people that we're dealing with on final expense, they're on a fixed income, they get paid a certain time of the month, so maybe they don't have the money in their account that day. So that's my second I want to think about it. You don't need to pay it today. The insurance company allows us to take the money out of your account the date that you'll have it. So that's my second time. I'll let them say it one more time. They'll say, I understand all that, but I really need to think about it. At that point, I'll come in for a third time and I'll say, Mrs. Smith, how many days, or Mary, how many days do you need to think about this? Mike, I need at least 3 days to be able to make a decision. I'll say, that's fantastic. The state of Maryland actually believes that you need 30 days to think about it, Mary. So what that means is we can submit a application today. We can date the check for whatever date you're comfortable with. You're going to get the policy in the mail, and the state of Maryland believes you need a full 30 days to think about it. If you get the policy in the mail and the policy is approved, if you feel like you made the absolute worst decision in your life, you have the ability to cancel that policy. And if you've made a payment, they'll give you a full refund. I don't get in the habit of doing that because I don't get a lot of chargebacks. Right now, I'm sitting at like a 92% on my 6-month persistency. But if I absolutely have to do it, if I'm getting 3, I want to think about it. So if I have to go all the way to the end, I'll do it. But when I'm doing that, I'm making very, very sure that it's a price that they can afford. I make sure that I've asked enough questions that they understand that they need the insurance. And that way that doesn't happen. But sometimes people need to be pushed. The people that we meet with, they're procrastinators, and they wait and they haven't done anything. So it's our job to push as much as we can. But I never push so hard to where I have a lot of cancellations. I make sure that I ask a whole lot of questions up front, and I make sure that I'm getting continuous buy-in throughout the entire appointment to where they understand why I'm there. We're both in agreement that they need it. And then if I absolutely have to, you know, I'll go through my 3 I want to think about it at the end. But generally, when we get all the way to the end and we're talking about price, it's because we know and we both have agreed the entire appointment that this is something they need, and the price is merely a formality. You know, the way I look at it is I'm selling the concept, and then we're going to get down to the end. They understand they need it. At the very end, it's just simply trying to figure out a price that's going to fit in their budget, something that's going to give them peace of mind and something that they're comfortable with. So when agents are new, the biggest problem that they do have, and that I definitely had, was just simply not asking enough questions. It's really getting the buy-in from the client the entire appointment up front and making sure it's truly something that they need. And when you go in there and you let the client know, listen, you know, I don't have any fancy presentations. I don't have any flip charts. I don't come in here with any videos. I just simply come in here as a regular person, and we're going to talk. And what I like to do is just simply have a conversation with people, and I'm going to figure out if this is something you need. If it's something you need, I'm going to simply provide you with a recommendation that I think makes sense. If nothing makes sense, or I don't feel that you're going to need anything, I'm going to let you know that too. Is that okay with you? Does that make sense to you? At that point, the client, like the house I just left, the client goes, that makes perfect sense, and I'm glad you don't have any sales presentations because I don't like salespeople. I said, I hate salespeople. I hate being sold anything. So the way I like to talk to people is I just like to have a simple conversation. And she goes, perfect. That's the way I like to do things. And so we went through the appointment. It was a small policy, but it is what it is. Sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small. I like I like when new people come aboard, I like dealing with just final expense. I think final expense is a much easier sale than mortgage protection. I think in the beginning, you go through a lot of final expense appointments, and after you sat on enough appointments, you get better. And at that point, that's when I think you start adding more mortgage protection. Sometimes you can go into a final expense appointment and it ends up being mortgage protection, but I still think that's a much easier sale than going into an appointment for someone that specifically is looking for mortgage protection. So, Khalid, do you have any questions, or does anyone have any questions or scenarios that we can go over where I can maybe help provide some solutions to any problems that people are having in the home?
I do. This is so good, Mike, because you are the GOAT. So I'm here taking notes, Mike, because this is so good.
I
What
appreciate it.
my first question is, so the first example you gave John and Mary, John, if if Mary were to die, or Mary, if John were to die tomorrow, you know what I'm saying, what does that look like for you financially? What if it's just one person? What if it's John or Mary? You know what I'm saying? There's no Mary for John. What question do you ask then?
If I walk in and let's say it's final expense, I mean, in the very beginning when I sit down, I go, hey, John, here's the form you filled out. Or if it was an internet lead, I'll say, obviously there is no form, so I'll say, you filled out a request online for life insurance. What is the reason that you filled that out? And then I always say, most people fill this out because they want to make sure if they were to die, they want to make sure that they don't leave a financial burden behind to their loved one. I'll say, is that the reason why you filled this out, John? So there is no wife, but there is someone that he cares about. And he goes, that's exactly why I made this request. I want to make sure that my family isn't stuck. I'll say, if you didn't come home last night, who would be the person today that would be picking up the pieces? Who's the person that would have to go to the funeral home and make the decisions on your behalf? Who is that person, John? And I want their name. That would be my niece. That's my niece, Kali. I'll say, okay, so if you were to die today, John, let me get this straight. Kali would be the one that would be picking up the pieces and would have to go out and make your final arrangements. Is that correct? Yes. So, John, what you're telling me is you sent this in because you want to make sure that you're not a financial burden on your niece or anyone else that she would have to go get money from. Yes, that's exactly why I filled it out. If I get anything other than that, the appointment is over. Like if I ask a simple question, John, you filled this out because you want to make sure you're not a financial burden. If he says something crazy, like I really don't care, I don't know why I filled it out, I'll try to ask more questions. But if he's not going to give me the answers that I need, then really there is no sale there, right?
Right. So
because he's not answering my questions.
What I heard, Mike, is that they need to sell you on why they want the insurance, not you selling them on why they need it. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is 100%. And it makes your job so much easier. It makes it very easy when you get down to the end of the appointment and they're telling you what they need and why they need it. You're bringing the emotion out in the appointment. Kenny do a ride along with me the other day. Kenny got so upset in the appointment. He said, Mike, I almost started crying. He stood up in the appointment. There was 3 people there. It was a mother, it was her daughter, and they had the cousin all living in the house. I was asking so many questions that Kenny said he got a tear in his eye, and he stood up and he said, you guys all 3 have to do something. You have to put your money together and get this insurance for your mother. You guys are going to be in trouble. Mm-hmm. I looked at Kenny and I just shook my head. I'm like, man, don't talk when you're inside my appointment. When we got out to the car, well, I'm like, Kenny, like, dude, why did you do that? Why did you stand up and start like telling them to pool their money? He goes, Mike, the way you were asking questions, I could see the situation that they were going to be in. And he goes, I felt like they were going to make the wrong decision. I felt like I had to help them. And I'm like, dude, I'm asking those questions on purpose. And I go, the silence is done on purpose. And I go, by you standing up, you like broke the tension. I go, I need that for my sale. And I said, for the rest of the day, just be quiet and listen to the questions that I'm asking. I go, believe me, I know what I'm doing and I'm going to get the answers that I need. I go, I don't need you doing that. He goes, dude, it was like it was so sad to me. You were painting the picture as if the mother was dead today and she was going to be in trouble. And I go, Kenny, I'm doing that on purpose. I go, it is emotional. And I said, but life insurance is a very emotional sale. And I said, I have to do that on purpose because I want them to understand what today is going to look like if she doesn't come home. And I say, don't talk in the rest of my appointments. I go, I'm like doing things on purpose. And it was interesting because that was a mortgage protection appointment. The woman was 75 years old. They want $150,000 of mortgage protection, and we ended up selling a Eagle policy for $30,000. But I said, all the questions that I'm asking, I'm preparing them to say yes to a small whole life policy, even though it's a larger mortgage protection policy. I said, every question that I ask, I'm asking it because I'm preparing them to show them something other than what they want. And I said, I was getting buy-in from the client the whole time. When I ask questions like, or I make statements like, what most people do in this situation is we simply try to put something in place based on the amount of equity in this home, is we want to make sure that if you were to die tomorrow or yesterday, that your daughter doesn't have to run from the funeral home to the real estate office. What most people do is we put a policy in place that can cover these payments so she can get the equity out of the home. One statement that I always make to clients, because I want to make them feel good and I make them, put their shoulders at rest. I always let them know that I'm on their side. I say, listen, as long as I've been doing this, one thing that I've learned is that while we're alive on this earth, one thing that we can't do is we can't spend all of our money on life insurance. I say, does that make sense? When you say something like that, they feel good. They know that you're there to try to help them out. So the questions that I ask and the statements that I make is because in my mind, I know the solution that I'm going to walk them down, the solution that I'm going to present to them. So if it's a mortgage protection appointment and they're older or they have some health challenges, I know that I'm going to show them a small whole life policy because I know that that's what makes sense for the client. This woman had some health challenges. Believe me, they were completely broke. So I knew that they couldn't really afford anything else, but they spent $179 a month on life insurance on a small Eagle policy. One thing with those people too, they smoke cigarettes. They each smoke a pack a day. So I'm like, listen, basically what I'm doing here today is I'm giving you a free whole life insurance policy, and I'm giving you $340 a month. And they go, well, how do you figure that, Mike? I go, you guys need to quit smoking, first of all. You're spending $540 a month on cigarettes. So you're going to quit smoking. We're going to take the, $179 out of that $540. You need to pay that $340 a year and save that money and do whatever else you need to do with it. This is what makes sense. But at the end of the appointment, the policy was sold, and it was just by simply asking a lot of questions and letting them know what made sense. So I know that, and I can tell when a new person calls me, they're in a home, they're asking me questions, and I can tell that they haven't made a sale or they haven't got a buy-in from a client. When someone calls me and says, Mike, I'm sitting with Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They're 79 years old. They have a $300,000 mortgage. We're trying to figure out a product to put them in. I mean, that you definitely at that point have not asked the right questions, because someone who's 79 years old, you're not going to give them a $300,000 life insurance policy. It's not going to happen. You're going to sell them a small home.
So that was my next question, but I didn't mean to cut you off because this is good. So like obviously you've been doing this for a minute, right? So the questions to ask, all those things. What would you tell the newest person? Like, because early in the call you were asking about, about certain medications, what I mean? You're not a doctor, but you've learned these things along the way. What would you recommend somebody who just got licensed and maybe don't know anything about life insurance, right? How do they learn? How do they get to where you are, Mike, or even get started on the path to get as good as you are? What would you recommend?
Well, the first thing is plugging into training. You know, our training is absolutely phenomenal. So not only all the training that's on YouTube, but there are hundreds, there's thousands of hours of training inside of the podcast. So if you don't have the podcast app, you need to install the podcast app and go on to the different podcast channels that are available with Family First Life. Also, this Saturday training call, you know, plugging into the training. So if you want to get good, you got to just plug into the training. In addition to plugging into the training, it's just simply running appointments and asking questions. I mean, that's the only way you're going to get good. There's no other way to do it. You have to run appointments, get on all the training. You know, our Thursday training, which is the advanced market training, is phenomenal. The Friday T&L is absolutely incredible. The Saturday training, this Saturday training is exceptional. You always have great speakers on the training. The Monday training that we do for FFL National is absolutely incredible. And then while you're driving around all day in between appointments, listening to podcasts and getting better is the only way to do it. There is no other way to learn it than just do it and to just simply immerse yourself into the training that the company has to offer. That's how you're going to get good. There's no other way to do it.
Okay. We got probably 2 more minutes, Mike. But I would love to keep you going, but we got to get the last speaker in. Does anybody have any questions for Mike? Because my recommendation would be like to listen to what Mike just said over and over and over again. Like listen to this part of this call recording over and over. Mike, how much how much did you write in 20? I know you didn't hit your goal, right? This wasn't your goal, but it's still a big deal. How much did you write in 2020 personally? How much business?
325,000. And what's crazy is 325 at this company is like nothing. You know, the expectation is for everyone to do a minimum of $20,000 a month. I only did 325. And based off of now this year, I will hit Hall of Fame. I will do $400,000 in production. So that is the goal for 2021.
Okay. And so, because you didn't hit, and like you said, there's people in the company. I mean, this is why the convention is so important, right? Because Steve Giordano, I think he personally wrote 1.4 million or 1.2 million, right, for the year.
Off of his own pen, which is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. So, but this, you know, there's so many different levels to this business. You know what I'm saying? We think we might be doing it because you're talking 325,000. It's still nothing to sneeze at. You know what I mean? It's still you're averaging about 28,000 in issue paid volume a month. That's personally, like, that's not anything small, but we can always get better, right? And so the goal is to get better little by little, and these little changes, especially the things that you have said, Mike, like these little statements and these little pieces. Like I know for myself, like once you told me, like when you told me, like when somebody said they need to think about it, because I was having an issue a lot where clients said, "Oh, I need to think about it," and I'm like, "Okay, well, how long you need to think about it?" "Okay, a week. I'll call you in a week," and I'm leaving. Like once you told me, like when somebody said they need to think about it, it's a price issue. Like that changed so much. It's these little pieces that's why being connected is so important. That little statement. And then once I understood what question to ask and the response, that was, so Mr. Jones, how long do you need to think about it? "Oh, I need about a week." "Okay, well, listen, the insurance company needs to figure out if they're going to accept you. We don't even know if you're going to get accepted. So what we're going to do, we're going to put in your application, and then we're going to, by the time it gets approved, we have enough time for you to think about it. And then on top of that, the state is going to give you another 30 days to think about it. You think 35 days is enough time to figure out this is what you want to do?" "Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're going to do the application." But that little adjustment made a huge difference in my personal production, Mike. Somebody did say they have a question. Go ahead.
I have a training too that I'll post, and it was probably one of my better trainings. It was on mortgage protection, but it pertains to everyone. It's like a 45-minute training. I went into the 4 different ways of selling mortgage protection, and it was a great it was a great call because you know, I had those 4 scenarios in that day and walked through each scenario where, I did some mortgage protection. I sold some annuities on that training, and it can really show everyone how to do a little bit of everything. The training will pertain to any type of leads, though.
Okay. We got time for this one question. Who is iPhone? Yes, unmute.
That's me, Kali. That's me. That's Osman. How you doing?
Oh, hey, Osman, go ahead.
Hey, Mike, real quick. I appreciate your time really quick. I just wanted to ask a quick question. So you sound really credible when talking to us over the phone. So I wanted to just know a quick tip that you do, besides you saying those little tie downs that you do to make the client know that you're credible when you walk in, if anything.
If I tell you what, each and every one of you have an insurance license. So immediately when you walk into the home, you're definitely credible because you have a license and they don't. I think one thing that new agents don't do, like if they don't call from the home enough. So if you're sitting with a client and you don't feel like you're getting the sale, by simply making a call to someone who is credible and putting you on speakerphone, I've sold a lot of appointments on speakerphone. But again, you're credible just by walking in and having an insurance license, and to me, it's just about listening to the training and then going through it. And that's how you're going to get better. And then getting connected directly with your mentor or someone else in the group. Like when you're brand new, it's a lot of talking to someone. It's talking to someone before your appointments, calling someone during your appointments, and then after the appointment, calling someone and say, this is how the appointment went, whether you sold it or not. And at the end of the day, calling back whoever is mentoring you again and recapping your entire day. It's just a lot of talking and going through the day and figuring out, asking questions about how an appointment went and what maybe you could have done better during the day. And that's even if you went through the whole day and sold, you sat with 5 and sold 5. Ask what else you could have done, what you could have done better. And that's the only way to get better. Too many people, this is a very lonely business. We're already out there by ourselves. So the only way to get better is to be connected and talking to someone each and every day. And that's how you get better. And that's how you get more credible. The more sales you're going to make, the more confident you're going to be, and the more credible you're going to sound when you're in front of the client. But by doing nothing, you're not going to get better. By talking to yourself, you're not going to get better. You have to be connected with the group and talking to people. That's how you do it.
That's a good. So Mike, like when our groups connected, that was in March. So I had been with Family First for a little bit, but it was still more that I learned, right? And then at that point in time, like I believe at that time, me and you were talking like multiple times a day. Like I was calling you, Mike, I got a question, Mike, what do I do with this? I still call you.
That's how you get better. That's the only way to get better, is asking a lot of questions.
I don't know. Like I'm like, Mike, what do I don't call you as often, obviously, but if there's something I just don't know, or if it's something that I feel like I might have missed on an appointment, I've called you on appointments before. Like that's the whole thing, is like being humble enough to accept help. And you know what I'm saying, and so that you can get better. Like you said, Mike, there's so many, like this is a lonely business, and then but we have people here that are willing to help, willing to guide. And if people just took advantage of the resources and the people that we have available to help, there will be more people winning. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I learned something new every day. I had the pleasure 2 days last week spending time with the president of the company and talking directly to him. And I learned something new every single day. It doesn't matter if you've been here for a day. I learned something new from talking to new people all the time. I'm always talking to people. I always want to get better. And you have to do it. If you want to get better, you have to just talk to other people and ask a lot of questions. And that's how you get better in the business. Always being on the trainings. It's funny because since I've been sitting here, I have 4 people call my phone while I've been on this call. And in my mind, I'm going to call each one of them back. And I'm going to say, why are you calling me and not on the Saturday training? What is wrong? Because why am I on the Saturday training and you're not? But I got 4 people blowing my phone up trying to get through to me and double ringing me at that. And we got Saturday training. This is exceptional training. We got to take advantage of what's here. It's the only way to get better. Anyone can do this. I used to think Sean was crazy, and I didn't believe him when he would tell me that anyone could do $20,000 a month. I would look at him and smile and say yes. But I believe that now, and because I believe it, I can tell that I remember I was doing like $10,000 a month. He asked me one very simple question. and he said some crazy things when you're one-on-one, but he said, Mike, if you had to do 20,000 at the end of the month to save your daughter's life, let's say your daughter needed a life-saving medicine, and we said you have to do 20,000 in order to provide her with that medication to save her life, what would you do? What wouldn't you do? You know, would you come up with a whole bunch of excuses, or would you just go out and do it? I said, I would do whatever it took. He goes, the way that you feel right now and the way you answer that question, have that kind of passion, and you can do $20,000 a month. And from there, I was like, he's right. Because at the end of the day, if someone said that, asked me that question, I wouldn't come up with a whole bunch of excuses. I would just do it. And it comes down to that. Anyone could do it. You just have to want to do it.
And that, you know, and I was talking to Jamie the other day, because Jamie, I get coaching too, right? And I get coaching for more than one person. So me and Jamie were having a coaching conversation, and we were talking about how like, I wasn't always writing 20,000, or is she paying 20,000? And I told her, because she was like, so what's different? And I said, when I hit 20,000 in the past, it had been just by accident, right? But now it's very intentional. You know what I mean? Like I'm very intentional with my schedule, with my dial days, with my run days. I'm on a schedule that I'm working this like a job until it continues to pay me more like a business, right? But it's everything that I'm doing, everything, the people that are, performing at a high level every month are consistent, they're plugged in, and then they're also, they're intentional about their results. You know what I mean? Like you didn't just luck into 325,000 in premium last year. Am I right, File?
That's right.
Like it wasn't what you wanted, but you made intentional moves to get to the 325, hoping to, hit 400,000. And then I think like Urbanski, what did Urbanski end up with?
He did 450.
Right. Last year in 2019, he was a freaking police officer. And he did 450 personal. And I'm sure Urbanski didn't luck into his results. He was intentional about where he started and where he was going and what he wanted to get done. And the same thing, we talk about hitting 20,000 a month. That's not, you can hit it by accident every once in a while, but if you want to do that consistently, it's going to take consistency to be able to hit that goal consistently.
Yeah, certainly. Anyone could do it. Anyone could do $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month. Anyone could do it. Anyone can build $1 million agency. It just comes down to what are you willing to give up in order to do it. Some people just aren't willing to give up what it takes to be able to do that, and that's fine. I mean, that's why I love being self-employed, because you can make the decision to do whatever it is that you want to do. It's up to you. But if anyone wants to do it, anyone can do it. We have people at this point coming into the company only here 12 months and talking to integrity, getting ready to do multi-million-dollar deals by doing this. And that's what's crazy. So anyone can do it. It's just you have to figure out at the end of the day, what are you willing to give up to do it? Anyone could be a top producer. Anyone could build a massive agency. Anyone could do it to the point where they can partner with integrity and make unbelievable amount of money. So it just depends on what you want.
So Mike, we were gonna have one more person. We were gonna have Corinne jump on, but this was, like I said, this is so good and so so much value. And I know your time, like for you to spend an hour with us is a big deal because you're in the field. So we're gonna, okay, Corinne has a question. I do have one more. Corinne, what's your question?
Okay, real quick, Mike, thank you so much for jumping on.
AKG, real quick, hold that question. I just want to share the 4 things that Sean taught us when we were down there with him.
Perfect.
We were in our meeting. He said he learned these 4 things over the last 12 months on what it takes to build a massive agency with the company. And it's only 4. 1, sell at a very high level, sell. And he's talking 30, 40,000 a month. The second thing is invest almost everything that you make back into your business. Number 3 is always be humble. And number 4 is to never take things personal. Understand that everything we're doing here is business. He said if it takes those 4 things to be able to build a massive agency with the company and be able to partner with integrity. So those 4, if you remember those, and Frank and I did a TNL on that, which will be coming up. So we talked about those 4 things. So what was your question, KG?
So, I mean, you kind of answered my question because it was going to be what's the biggest mistake people make coming in, new age. Well, you can still probably answer. What would you say is the biggest mistake outside of what one should do with those four that you just mentioned? But what's the biggest mistake that new agents kind of run into that puts them out the game when they come into the business that you've seen?
The biggest mistake is not having a consistent lead flow. You know, people will buy a batch of leads, and too many people play to not lose instead of playing to win. And that's the biggest thing. You know, like me, I came here so freaking broke that when I finally started making money and being comfortable, I was comfortable, and I didn't want to lose the money that I made because being comfortable felt nice. It felt good versus being so damn uncomfortable when I came here and being so freaking broke, you know, so then I slowed down a little bit. But really, when you're making money, it's hard, especially if you're like me coming here so broke, you get a little bit of money, it's hard to throw it back into the business, but it's the only way to be successful. You have to have consistent lead flow. You have to be on a schedule that you follow each and every week, no matter what. Too many people, we dial on Monday, but then you'll hear they'll have an appointment on Monday. But Mondays aren't appointment days, they're dial days. And then you start messing your schedule up. So too many people do that. They don't buy enough leads. They don't stick to the schedule. And that really is the only problem. It's that simple. There really is nothing more than that. You buy the leads, you buy them consistently, and you have a consistent schedule that you stick with on a daily basis. And if you're broke means running 7 days a week. 7 days a week. I'll never forget sitting on my sofa on a Saturday being so damn broke I couldn't take my kids to freaking Chuck E. Cheese on Saturday. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, what am I doing? I must go to work. I made sure that I worked every single day until I got myself out of that situation. And I did not stop. It was every day, 7 days a week, nonstop until I fixed my financial situation. But I talked to a guy the other day who's completely broke. And when I asked him, hey, what'd you do on Sunday? He just like very nonchalantly said, I spent the day with my fiance. At that point, man, the call's over for me because I'm like, man, you're not really crazy about fixing your situation. You don't like the situation that you're in, but you're not crazy about fixing it. Like me, I have a wife and 2 kids. I was crazy about fixing it. I was willing to do whatever I had to do. I didn't go on vacation with my family, and I worked 7 days a week because I had to take care of them. So that's all you got to do to be able to fix it.
All right, Mike. Thank you so much. Just one last thing. We got 1 minute. Mike, why does everybody on this call need to be at the convention?
The convention is powerful because you're going to see people that are going to be just like you. You can't connect. Like there's some people that may not connect with Kali. There's some people that may not connect with Corinne, Andre, Brandon, Steve, Ryan, other leaders on the call, but there's going to be someone there that you're going to connect with, and you're going to hear the message that they say in a different way, and it's going to resonate with you, and all of a sudden a light bulb is going to go off, and you're going to understand them. They're going to speak like you, they're going to be like you, and something that someone is going to say is going to make sense, and you're going to understand exactly what it's going to take to be able to do this business at a high level. If you're not looking to do it at a high level, then that's fine. But if you are, there's going to be someone there that what they're going to say is going to make sense to you. You got to get to the convention. If you're not at the convention, then you're not all in. So if you're all in means doing everything necessary to get to that next level. We haven't had a promotion in this group in a couple months, and it's time for other leaders to start stepping up. It's time for us to start seeing other promotions. There's so many people on this group. There's no reason why we don't have more people hitting sales manager on a monthly basis, hitting vice president on a monthly basis. So if you're all in, you got to be all in, and being at a convention is one of those. If you're not at the convention, then you're just not serious about doing what we're doing. So that's why.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much again. Like this was freaking fire. If the call will be uploaded shortly to our new YouTube page. So and then I'll post that in GroupMe. But thank you for taking the time to speak with us, Mike. This was so good. We will be jumping back on the live dials probably in about 15 minutes. The link is the same, guys. Have an amazing week, and we'll talk to you soon.